Welcome. This is James Corbett of the Corbett Report, with your eye-opener report for BoilingFrogsPost.com. The Council on Foreign Relations is well known among researchers of parapolitics as one of the organizations of interest directing Washington's foreign policy. Once derided as conspiracy theory, the influence of the group is now a truism that is openly joked about in Washington's foreign policy circles.
It's good to be back at the Council on Foreign Relations. As Pete mentioned, I've been a member for a long time and was actually a director for some period of time. I never mentioned that when I was campaigning for re-election back home in Wyoming.
Thank you very much, Richard, and I am delighted to be here in these new headquarters. I have been often to, the mothership in New York City. But it's good to have an outpost of the Council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the Council, so this will mean I won't have as far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
What many do not know, however, is that the CFR is in fact a branch of a slightly older, slightly less known organization, the Royal Institute of International Affairs. Born from the ashes of war-ravaged Europe following the Great War, the idea for the RIIA was forged at an informal session during the 1919 Paris Peace Conference. The institute was formalized the next year, first as the British Institute of International Affairs, and then, after receiving its royal charter, as the Royal Institute of International Affairs. The group became synonymous with Chatham House, its headquarters in St. James's Square in London, and is widely recognized among foreign policy experts as the most influential think tank in the world.
In a world of growing interdependence, the need for rigorous and independent analysis has never been greater. This is true first in the area of international economics, where the global financial crisis and the rise of the G20 are completely changing the international context. Second, we have competition for resources, for oil, for gas, but also for food and water, and how this is interacting with changing climates. Then third, there's the changing balance between the established powers and the rising powers, and what this means for security. Chatham House works across these three areas, in international economics, in energy, environment and resource governance, and in regional and security studies. We publish reports, we publish papers, we hold discussions and conferences, and we discuss our ideas with policymakers from around the world.
In the years since its inception, the RIIA has opened branches in countries across the British Commonwealth and around the world, including the Council on Foreign Relations, born largely from the same 1919 Paris meeting that birthed the Institute itself, the Australian Institute of International Affairs, the South African Institute of International Affairs, the Pakistan Institute of International Affairs, the Canadian International Council, and similar organizations. Officially, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, like its various branch organizations, is a non-profit, non-governmental think tank that promotes analysis of international issues and world affairs in four main research areas: energy, environment and resources, international economics, international security, and area studies and international law. Also like its branch organizations, the majority of the group's publications and proceedings are open to the public and freely available via their website or their journal, International Affairs. Funded by partners, patrons, and corporate members that read like a who's who of the Fortune 500, including Chevron, AIG, Bloomberg, Toshiba, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Lockheed Martin, Royal Dutch Shell, the European Commission, and dozens of other corporations, institutions, and foreign governments, Chatham House consistently attracts some of the best-known speakers on a wide range of topics, releasing reports that set the global policy agenda, not only for Britain, but for much of the rest of the developed world as well.
We have further challenging issues to address between now and 2015, including how to take account of countries' common but differentiated responsibilities for tackling climate change, by moving towards a spectrum of commitments that reflects the economic realities of the 21st century. The current binary divide between developing and developed countries was defined in 1990, and I believe it's time to move on from it.
The role of policymakers is actually to try to manage this transition and to understand that we are living through a very different time. And I stress, and this time is really different from other periods in recent history where we discuss the reform of the monetary system. So managing a transition means more policy cooperation.
Militaries around the world aspire to our standards and the ability of our forces to work together. Importantly, we can integrate other nations' contributions into complex multinational operations like no other organization.
You've been watching an excerpt of this week's Eye Opener report. To continue watching the report, please log into boilingfrogspost.com. Available now from boilingfrogspost.com.
You know, they arrested me for taking pictures. That was obvious. Well, they couldn't really write that in an arrest report. So they said, well, he was standing in the middle of the street. He was blocking traffic.
DNA profiles of innocent people arrested in England and Wales can now only be held by police for a maximum of 6 years.
The technological police state that we see developing today is the access to advanced methods and techniques of control.
Down on the ground!
This technology is not the stuff of sci-fi fantasy, but increasingly a part of our everyday lives. The new Boiling Frogs Post DVD, The Police State, available from boilingfrogspost.com. Including all 4 episodes of the Police State series of James Corbett's Eye Opener Report, 2 bonus Eye Opener reports, an exclusive interview with boilingfrogspost.com member Andrew Gavin Marshall, and a Paul Jamiel political cartoon gallery. Order your copy today at boilingfrogspost.com.